What's going on, you guys? So in the last video we went to the track and we ran the car pretty hard. Everything seemed good. No major issues at the track, no serious overheating, no leaks. Everything seemed to be fine with the car. Now, from a drivability standpoint, I do definitely need to make some changes. So we definitely need to make a spring change in the front. It's a little bit too soft up in the front, so we're going to stiffen that up by quite a bit, actually. We're actually going to be doubling the spring rate in the front of the car. And then another thing that happened after I got home, so I was going through some of the data log stuff, and I thought the car seemed like it was kind of breaking up near the end of the day on my very last run. Now, I figured, we've been running the car hard. I haven't really changed plugs in a while, so maybe it's just plugs. So I do got to get a new set of plugs for it anyways. But turns out the reason it was breaking up is on the last run, the alternator actually died. So we just had a stock truck alternator in there. So, I mean, God knows how many miles are on this thing. Probably easily over 100,000, I'm assuming. But with everything in this car, all the electronics and everything, so we're talking electric power steering. We're demanding high current from the coils. We have an oil cooler fan. We have 2 radiator fans. We have the fuel pumps. We have the electric water pump, the ice box pump for the intercooler. And then, not to mention all the engine management system, injectors, everything else that normally needs to be powered. So we are drawing quite a bit and demanding quite a bit from this alternator. So I'm not really surprised it died. So we do need to go ahead and change that out. I got a brand new 250 amp upgraded alternator for it, and we're gonna get that tossed in right now. Alright, so after messing with this thing for far longer than I felt like I should have been messing with it for, I pulled it back out because I couldn't get the belt to fit. And as soon as I pulled it out, I knew why. This new alternator is much bigger than the old one. So the offset holes here to center here. So this hole to this hole to center basically pushes this pulley out further this way. And if you look at this one, so I'm going to need a longer belt. So that's not too much of an issue, but I'm going to go ahead and throw this back on, and then I'll just take the belt out, and yeah, I'll just have to get a new belt tomorrow for it. Kind of sucks because I was hoping to get this thing fired up and flip it around. That way I get on the hoist and get the springs on it. So I guess I'm just going to throw this on here, and then that'll have to wait for tomorrow. Alright, so now that we got the new alternator installed, we're going to go ahead and measure the belt length on it. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a belt measuring tool. What I've done in the past is I take a string of wire, wrap it around there, tape it together, and then cut it, measure the length. But, I mean, even that can be kind of on or off. So I think what I'm going to do is just cut that belt, wrap it around, see how much I need to add to it. Alright, so we got it taped up, and that's about how much we need to add to it right there. So about 1.5 inches. Yeah, about 1.5 inches. So I need a 34.5-inch belt for this, and then we should be good. Alright, so it's the next day. I was able to go to the parts store and I actually found a belt that worked. So on my little tensioner there, I had 33 inches written down on what the old belt was. Turns out I actually had a 32.5 on there. I think I wrote 33 on there because the 32.5 was just a little tight, kind of a pain to get on there. So luckily, I read the belt before I went and got another one, and I ended up needing a 34-inch belt. So new 34-inch belt, fit right on there, tensioned up pretty good. Nice thing about this setup is we are only running the alternator, so we don't need like crazy super tight belt tension because there isn't too much load on the serpentine system there, but we can actually get a decent amount of tension on there. And if you look, you can see we actually still have about another inch of tension we can pull out of it if we really need to. It's just that doing that from this area is kind of a pain, so when I get it up on the lift, I'll actually loosen it back up and go through and re-tension it and put a little bit more preload on that belt. So, but alternator setup, good to go. So now I got to get this thing charged up, and we're going to flip it around, put it up on the hoist. We got to change some front springs out. Alright, so we got the belt done. Now what we're going to do, go ahead, pop these coilovers out of here and swap in some heavier front springs for it. Alright, Fortunato coilovers are out, and we've got our new springs to go in. So we are going to be replacing these. Now, since we did put a stiffer spring in this, we are going to actually need to lower the spindle pickup on this because it's not going to have nearly as much preload as it did before. So if I were just to throw it in right now, it's going to sit way higher in the front than it did before. So we're going to have to go ahead and do that. So first we're going to just throw it in the car though, because it's easier to do it with it on the car. Okay, so we have the coilovers back in the car. We dropped this 3/4 of an inch for now to start, just to kind of give us an idea where we're at. You will notice that I have disconnected the sway bar end links, and I've done that on both sides. Now, the reason I always disconnect sway bar end links when setting ride height is because if you're trying to adjust one coilover at a time, you're going to preload that sway bar and you may weight jack it, so you might it makes it a lot more difficult to dial in ride height and preloads and all that stuff with the sway bar connected. So what I do is I disconnect the sway bar, get my ride heights, get my preloads all set, and then I hook the sway bar back up on one side and then adjust the other end link to be 0 preload. That way it's all level and even. We're gonna throw rotor wheel back on and set it down and see where our height is at. Okay, so now the next step, we're going to lower down on our cinder blocks we have here. That way I don't have to jack it up, take it off the hoist every time. So we're just going to lower it down in the cinder blocks. As soon as the rear wheels touch down, I'm going to chalk them. That way it won't roll anywhere, because rolling off the cinder blocks would be it'd be a really bad time. So yeah, we're going to set it down on cinder blocks, chalk the rear wheels, check out the ride height. Alright, so wheels are chalked up. So we're not going nowhere. We're on the blocks. Okay, so right now left to right is even. Issue, we do need to lower the front down a little bit more. So right now it's about a 1/2 inch higher than it used to be. And I did actually lower the coilover 3/4 of an inch. So we're gonna go ahead and lift this back up and adjust each coilover down about a 1/2 inch, remeasure it, see where we're at, and then from there we should be good. $15 and a half now. 15 and a half. I think we're good. All right, so that was a couple things that needed to be fixed in the car. Spring change and get that alternator swapped out. So hopefully for the next event we should be good to go. I do need to do an alignment on it, And I'm going to do another video on showing you guys how to do at-home alignments with nothing more than some cinder blocks, some conduit pipe, and some string. So stay tuned for that one. It'll be coming out soon. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you're new, follow the build along, and until the next one, I'll catch you guys later.